Hello fellow Sudokans and welcome to Zen and the Art of the Guardian Sudoku puzzle. It's Monday the 31st of October 2022. I hope you are keeping well and welcome to newborn fellow Sudokans. Here you get your baptism, you get your Sudokan passport. If you are a refugee from an illogical, irrational and insane world, welcome on board. It's glad to have you here. Yes, some logic in an insane and irrational world. This is Monday is always beginner's day in the Guardian for its Sudoku puzzle, and so I assume that that's the case today. Usually they call it easy, but it's normally really a puzzle that's suitable for absolute beginners. So if you've never played the game before, fear not and don't run away. And if you're afraid of maths, don't worry, there's nothing to do with mathematics. It's purely a game of logic, but because it usually involves numbers that can put some people off, I guess. Right, so how do we play the game? Well, okay, you can see there's a grid of 9 squares across in a row by 9 squares down the column. And in each row, excuse me, you can see there are already placed some numbers. Now the lowest number you'll see is 1 and the highest number you'll find is 9, and that's because there are exactly 9 squares in each row. There are 9 squares in each column as well, but that's not all, because there are these smaller grids of 3 squares across by 3 squares down, and of course 3 by 3, as we know, is 9. Even if your maths is not that good, I'm sure you know that much. What's the object of the game? Well, like a jigsaw puzzle, we have to fit all of the pieces in. The pieces are, in fact, numbers. And each number can only appear in the row, or the column, or the block, the mini block, like this, just once. So we have 6, 3, and 5 in this block. So we're looking for the other numbers from 1 to 9. And then in this row, we have 6, 7, and 5 already. So we're looking for the other numbers, not including 6, 7, or 5. Got it? Right, now, okay, it's not that difficult a concept, I think, really. So how do we go about finding the digits? Well, okay, look, this block here, which has 4, 9, 1, and 2, does not yet have a 5 in it. And when I say in it, I'm not saying isn't it in Cockney slang, I'm just saying inside it. And so we have 5 blocking up like this, and 5 blocking down like this. When I say blocking, I mean cannot reappear in this column, and 5 cannot reappear in this column because of these 2 5s here. And look, we have a 1 and a 2 already placed in this middle column. So there is one white square inviting, hey, put a 5 in here. Okay, you say, will do. Now we can take that digit 5 that we've just used, and now we can say it blocks across this row because the number can appear in a row only once. And we have a 5 in this row already blocking across here. So now you can see there's just one white square here, and that's where the 5 goes. And then we'll use that 5 that we just placed along with the 5 in the bottom row and the 5 in this row to do the same kind of thing, and that will give us a 5 here. And now there is only one more to get in the whole puzzle. There's just one more 5 that we need to get. I didn't need to do that, actually. I could have just done this. But just to show you how they surround and go up and down. And this actually is the last 5 because each grid contains numbers 1 to 9, and that means that so there there's a total of 9 of each digit. So there's a 5 here, 5 here, 5 in each block, and of course there are 9 of these blocks. That's why it's often referred to as a game of 9s. Everything is about 9s. Okay, right, now you've got the idea quite well, I think. And so where should we go from here? I'll try to find the easiest things for you, since you are likely to be a beginner and not somebody who can play the game quite well. We do have some people who just like to play easy games sometimes. 4 up and 4 across, that's a 4 here. Especially some people like to see how fast they can do it. We're not doing that. We are just trying to learn. Oh, excuse me. The grid kind of jumped in and out there. If your eyes were not deceiving you, something weird happened on the screen, as sometimes happens here. So now I've got 4s blocking across these 2 rows. You can see them, and so 4 must fit there. I'm having computering problems at the moment. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this video is actually going to work. Yesterday I had to edit on my laptop because my main computer's not working, and I think it's still not working now, so this could all be in vain. But anyway, 4 blocking down here, 4 blocking down here, and this will be a 4 in this square here. We have 4 up here as well, and 4 across here and up here like this. You can see these 3 intersecting 4s, and that will give us a 4 in that square there. So the 4 comes down here and across like this, and then the 4 will go there. And then we have 4 across here, down here, and across here, and that's the final digit 4. Now you may be thinking, is this how we play the game? We find a single number and we find it through to the end? No, we just happen to have been quite fortunate that we've been able to find all of the 5s and all of the 4s. There is a 4 now in every one of these blocks, so that's finished. But it doesn't usually go like that. It doesn't often go like that, but it can. Obviously it just did, so obviously it can. But generally speaking, you have to look for a number, and then you won't be able to find every iteration of that digit. So you have to come back to it at a later time. That's generally what happens. But of course, you know, there are always exceptions, right? Okay, now I can see something. Now I want to... Oh no, okay, I don't need to. I'll keep it very easy, okay, very easy. So we got 1s blocking across here, 1 blocking down here, 1 blocking across here, and so our 1 must fit there. Then we can say 1 blocking up here and 1 blocking up here, so the 1 goes there. And then we have 1s blocking up this column and 1 blocking up this column and 1 across here, so that 1 fits just there. Okay, now let's look at this column down here. Now we have 3, 5, 6, 4, and 8. So that means we don't yet have a 1. What we're going to do is look at the intersecting ones. We haven't done this kind of thing yet. So let's examine this square. And we look across and we say, hey, there's a 1 there. So that can't be a 1. We look at this square and we look across. Hey, there's a 1 there. So that can't be 1. And we look at this square and we look across and we say, hey, there's a 1 there. So look, now there is only 1 empty square in this column. And so the 1 must be placed there. And now, as I said, now we can't finish off the 1s because what we know now is that 1s could appear in any of these 4 squares. And by Sudoku logic, if a 1 appears in this square, it will also appear in this square. And if a 1 appears in this square, it can't appear here, of course, but then it will appear in there. Like that, but we can't say which is which just yet. We have to come back at a later time. In the meantime, let's take this 2 blocking across and 2 blocking across here, and we can say that the 2 fits there, and then 2 up here and up here gives us a 2 in that square there. And again, we can't finish the 2s because we've got possible places like this that we can't know at this stage, so we have to come back and think about it another time. No, I don't say another time, I don't mean tomorrow. I mean we just have to look around and find something else first, and we'll come back to it in a moment. Right. And I don't play these games ahead of time, so I have no idea of the final answer for any of these games on this channel. Even the difficult ones, I play them live, and that means sometimes it takes some time for me to work out the answer as well. Okay, now I'm going to show you this time a little bit more Sudoku logic, and I want you, because this I think will show you how you need to think a bit more about the game. So look, we have 7 blocking across here like this, right? So in this block here, what do we know about 7? We know that 7 is either in this square or in this square. Can't be anywhere else, right? 7's blocked from these 2 squares, so that leaves just this square or this square. Now if it's in this square, well, that blocks across this row here, right? And if it's in this square, well, that blocks across the same row. So now that we know that 7 is in one of these two squares, we know that it can't reappear in this row here. Now let's take this 7 down here and block across here. So what do we know now? 7 clearly must be in that square there. Did you like that? Okay, so that's the kind of thing that you can do, and more advanced things than that as well once you start playing the game. Now let's say there's a 9 blocking across here, so 9 goes here. Now the 9 cannot be in this square, but we need a 9 in this column. There's only one other empty square, so we know that the 9 goes there and the 7 goes there. If this is too fast for you, just rewind the video, go back, have a look at it until you are comfortable. Now, we don't have an 8 in this row here yet, no 8. But look, we find an 8 in this block. Now remember, numbers can appear within the block only once. So when we ask, can an 8 be here? The answer is no. Can an 8 be here? The answer is still no, because we already have an 8 in this block. So now again, we're left with a single empty white square, sometimes called a cell, C-E-L-L, by Sudoku players. And that's where the 8 goes. Now there are 2 empty squares at the end of this row, and if you look through that, you'll find that 6 and 7 are missing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 6 or 7. We've got 8 and 9, excuse me. So we know that 6 and 7 are here, but when we look up here, we find there's a 6 already in this column, so we know that this square can't be 6. 6 must appear here, and the 7 will be there. Now we can take that 7 we just filled in, and 7 across the top here, so that's going to place a 7 in that square there. Then we can say that 7 we just placed, 7 across here and 7 up here. Do you see how every time we're putting in a number, we're getting more information, and very often we're able to use that digit to find the next position for that digit. Okay, there are 2 empty squares in this block here. And when we look through, we find that they need to be 8 and 9 because we have everything else up to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 we've got. Now we've got an intersecting 8. You saw it, didn't you? I know you saw it already. And so the 8 goes there, and the last number there is a 9. And now this 9 blocks down here. We don't yet have a 9 in this block. So this mini grid here, 3 by 3, so we can place our 9 there. We don't have a 1 there yet, so this one blocking across here allows us to place the 1 there. And now there's only one missing number here, and that's an 8. So we'll fill that in. And now across the end of this row, there's still one number to get. The missing number is going to be a 6, I think. That's what we need. Yep. Down here we have 2 empty squares, and they will be filled by a 3 and an 8, but we can't say which is which, because when we look up the columns here, we don't have any intersecting 3s or 8s just yet. So again, as I said to you before, we sometimes have to come back and check later. What we can do is there's one empty square in this column here, and that needs just a 1, and there's one empty square in this column, and that needs to be a 3. Right, so we've done a lot of the game. Look, this left-hand section over here with these 3 blocks is already complete, so that's quite nice, isn't it? We have a section in the middle here. We should look and see what these 3 missing digits are. They are 3, 6, and 8. Now we have a 3 intersecting, we have an 8 intersecting, but we don't have any 6s, so we can't place them yet. So again, we have to come back and look at that a bit later. We'll look elsewhere instead. Now, where should we look? Well, there are 2 empty squares in this row, and the numbers that need to be placed there are 2 and 6. Now, do we see any 2s or 6s in the columns? Yes, we do. We see the 6 blocking here, so the 6 goes there, and the 2 finishes off that row. And there should be one more 2 to get. We've got 2s everywhere except for this block here. Now we can always get the final number, so 2 blocks across here. Now we know that the 2 goes there, and that is the final 2. We now have 1, 2, 4, and 5 complete in across the grid. We're looking for the other numbers. Okay, so up here we need a 9. And when we look down here, do we find any 9s? Well, at this stage, no, we don't. But let's think a bit more deeply, fellow Sudoku. Now you've arrived in planet Sudoku. You have to start using your logical brain. So let's see, the 9 blocks down here, right? So that means that in this block down here, 9 is either in this square or in this square. Has to be, because it's blocked from these two. So what do we know now? 9 is here or here. Now, when we consider blocking up this column, it doesn't matter if it's in this square or this square, it still blocks up this column. So we know that this square here cannot be 9. And in this row, which still needs a 9, that leaves just that square where we place our last last digit rather. And then we need a 3 for this row. So we'll put the 3 there. Now we have 3 blocking down here and 3 across here. And that's a 3 to go there. 7 blocks all the way down here, and that gives us a 7 in that square there. The missing numbers here and here are 6 and 9. Now we have to look across here and say, do we have any 6s or 9s? And the answer is no. So again, we have to come back to this later. Okay, but when we look at this, so here's another tip, right? If you've got this row contains 6 and 9. There are only 2 missing squares, so this is 6 and 9. Now that means that this square is definitely 6 or 9. Now there are also only 2 empty squares in this row, so this also has to be either 6 or 9, right? Did you get that? The logic? If this is 6 and 9, because there's only 2 numbers missing from this column, and this is definitely 6 or 9, so this is also 6 or 9. But now we look up here and we find there's an intersecting 6, so we know that this can't be 6. This has to be 9. And this has to be 6, and this has to be 9. Okay. And now we don't have much more to go on today's grid. Let's see what else we need. Okay, we need a 3 in one of these 2 squares. Now I can see the intersecting 3 here. So the 3 goes there, and the last number here for this block or this row is the same thing. It will be an 8. 8 then blocks up here, and that gives us an 8 here. And the last number to fill in here is a 6. So now we've got this side done as well. There's just the middle section to go now. We've got this column, we've got this, we call this a chute actually, when you have 3 blocks connected. So and this is almost done. Right, now let's see. Missing numbers here are what? 3 and 9. So we can see a 9 blocking up there. So that's now where the 9 goes, and that's where the 3 goes. Then 3 blocks down here, and 3 blocks up here. So that will give us a 3 in that square. 6 blocks down here. We still need a 6 in this block or this row, so the 6 will appear there. And the last number to get here is an 8. Oh, sorry, hit the wrong key on the keyboard. 8 blocks down here, 8 blocks down here. That's where the 8 goes. Now, just one number down here, which is a 7. And to finish today's grid, a 6 is the final number for today's beginner level. So I hope you got the hang of that. And there are plenty of other beginner level games on this channel. Just have a search and have a click on them. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.